Hello and welcome everyone. I am Ashish, a faculty of Indian History, Art and Culture. I have been associated with top and multiple coaching institutions across India and part of JP Career Point since 2015. Today, I will discuss in a very brief manner a very interesting topic of modern world history, that is Industrial Revolution. So this topic, industrial revolution, is primarily important from Maine's perspective. Before I will discuss the idea about industrial revolution, let me tell you various interrelated development which laid the foundation of modern world history. So all these major development can be categorized such as, so in Europe, during 13th to 14th century onward, one of the major upheaval was Renaissance. Fine. Renaissance particularly referred to rebirth. It was the revival of Greco-Roman learning in terms of art and culture. So it was not only a revival, but it was a large-scale transformation which led to the emergence of different ideas. So mean Renaissance was inspired by the idea of humanism. Okay, humanism, Petrarch is usually considered as the father of humanism. Humanism means emphasis on human freedom. It means emphasis on human progress. It means emphasis on human emotions. And all these variations were neglected during medieval period in Europe. So what is the bottom line? The medieval period in Europe was usually considered as dark age. Understand it, right? So mean medieval period in Europe, it was dark age. So after Renaissance, the another major upheaval in Europe, it was idea of enlightenment. Okay, idea of enlightenment. So enlightenment primarily refers to a cultural and intellectual movement which emerged in Europe during 17th century and attained climax during 18th century. So therefore, the 18th century in Europe, it was termed as the age of enlightenment. So if I would categorize this under a few points, under Renaissance, the major theme was humanism. Along with humanism, there was realism. Realism means to depict the subject matter truthfully. Along with realism, there was emphasis on secularism, right? Along with secularism, there was equal emphasis on the idea of rationalism. Getting my point? So what does it mean? The two great movements, Renaissance along with Enlightenment, they laid the foundation of modern Europe, led to the transformation from dark age to modern age. And when we say idea of modern age, so this idea of modern age was inspired by certain new ideas which gain its genesis from the Renaissance as well as Enlightenment. If I will describe the idea of Enlightenment, Enlightenment primarily can be described into four parameters. Four parameters mean the four important parameters in the age of Enlightenment. It emphasized on the idea of reason. Okay. It emphasized on the idea of natural law. Fine. It emphasized on the idea of optimism. Fine. And lastly, it equally emphasized on the idea of humanism. So see, already in Europe, there was Renaissance, there was Enlightenment, and simultaneously progress in the field of economic sphere. So when we define in context of economy, so during modern period in Europe, again there were certain major change due to emergence of new ideas. Like I would say, Britain was inspired by the idea of mercantilism, right? Mercantilism, the core of mercantilism is Bullionism. Okay, the core of mercantilism is Bullionism. So what this Booleanism mean? Booleanism mean the strength of any nation is determined on the basis of positive reserve in terms of precious metal, and precious metal in context of what? Both gold as well as silver. Clear? Simultaneously, as mercantilism came into being, the idea of capitalism also emerged. Idea of capitalism came into being in Europe. Commercial revolution had already started, right? Commercial revolution had already started. So there were large scale upheaval in intellectual field, in economic field, as well as in socio-economic sphere during modern period in Europe. So if I would categorize all these in one diagram, so how would we say? See here, in 13th to 14th century, during the age of Renaissance, right, the major theme was the idea of humanism. The major theme was idea of rationalism. Fine. During 17th to 18th century in Europe, I told you there was age of enlightenment, and in the age of enlightenment, the main idea, it was reason. So this is also categorized as age of reason, and simultaneously when these upheaval were taking place during 18th century, primarily during the middle of 18th century, age of machine started in Britain. And this age of machine, understand it, okay, this age of machine or the beginning of mechanized production process in Britain is usually defined as industrial revolution. Understand it. So I have clarified the background of industrial revolution. So now let me tell you that what type of questions are asked in mains. Already in UPSC along with MPSC, one question has been asked, that why industrial revolution first time took place in Britain, right? So if we are going to discuss the various aspects of this question, before that I will give you a comprehensive idea what is the meaning of this industrial revolution, what were the prominent characteristics of this industrial revolution, and how we can define the various aspects that this industrial revolution took place in Britain. So firstly, let us understand the basic theme. Industrial revolution is a combination of two terms. First is industry and the second is revolution. So actually, what is the meaning of revolution? Revolution mean any change, okay, any change which is fundamental, okay, any change which is fundamental, okay, which is unexpected, and which takes place in a dramatic way, okay, which takes place in a dramatic way. Although there is a debate among historians whether the industrial revolution, can we use the nomenclature or expression revolution or evolution. But if you will go with the unanimity, there is larger consensus on this theme that rather than evolution, the better expression to all the major change which took place in Europe, that is industrial revolution. So what this industrial revolution was? So industrial revolution in Britain denotes large scale, okay, it denotes large scale, it denotes comprehensive, okay, large scale, comprehensive and irreversible change, okay, irreversible change that revolutionized the production process in Britain. Understand, we are using the term revolution. What does it mean? These change were large scale, the change were unprecedented, the change were comprehensive, the change were irreversible. And how this change resulted? All this change revolutionized, okay, revolutionized production process in Britain and led to the transformation of, what type of transformation took place in Britain? When all these comprehensive, large scale and irreversible change took place in Britain, it led to the transformation of So this transformation first, handmade tool, they were replaced by machine-made tool. Understand it? Okay, handmade tool were replaced by machine-made tool. What does it mean? Mean mechanized production process became more dominant. Secondly, okay, agricultural economy, okay, agricultural economy of Britain, okay, it was transformed into industrial economy, right? So when we say industrial revolution means a large scale, comprehensive and unprecedented change which transformed a handmade tool from machine made tool, agriculture economy from industrial economy. Along with it, earlier in Britain, there was putting out a system. Okay, putting out a system. This putting out a system was replaced by factory system. Okay, it was replaced by factory system. So what was this putting out system? Before the advent of industrial revolution in Britain, the merchant played the role of facilitator. The worker never worked in a factory system. They used to work in their home premises, right? And the merchant, he usually worked as a facilitator. He used to provide the raw material and other entitlement to the worker. They used to work in the premises of their house. Products were made, payment was made to the worker, and this merchant finally, he was playing the role of intermediary, and goods were used, okay, goods were transported to the market, right? So there was nothing like the factory system. But when industrial revolution came into being, all this traditional mechanism of production ended. And when this mechanism of production ended, this putting out a system was transformed into factory system. So mean the factories became more dominant. As the factory became more dominant, then what next change took place in Britain? In Britain, the rural economy, the rural aspect of economy, it was transformed into urban economy. So dear aspirant, if I will simplify all the understanding, what I have undertaken with you, okay, so we can say that industrial revolution refers to comprehensive, large scale and irreversible change that led to transformation of what? Handmade tool from machine made tool, agriculture economy to industrial economy, putting out system to factory system, rural aspect of economic system to urban aspect of economic system. And these change were unprecedented in character. These change were transformative in character. That is why a larger expression is used, industrial revolution. If you will relate this understanding with the Renaissance and Enlightenment, what I told you in the beginning, Renaissance was the age of humanism, where human progress, human emotions, human ideas, human welfare was preferred. And during 17th and 18th century, the new ideas were focusing on enlightenment. And when these new ideas, along with the idea of mercantilism, commercial revolution, capitalism, etc., were emerging, then in Britain, age of machines started. And this age of machine and large scale transformation in the whole production process are termed as industrial revolution. So let me again add one more few points. The term industrial revolution was actually popularized by Arnold Toynbee. Okay, this was popularized by Arnold Toynbee. But before that, he was not the first man to use this term. Before that, there was J.A. Blanke. Okay, he had already used this term. Then Frederick Engels, he had already used this term. But to give the new shape to the major economic transformation and the popularization of this term, the credit goes to Arnold Toynbee. So I have discussed the various themes related to the Industrial Revolution. So my focus was to give you an idea about this concept, that why Industrial Revolution first time took place in Britain. So before you will pen down, you need to give a very suitable introduction to your answer. So introduction can be in this format, right? See here. It can be in this format, okay? This way. We can say Industrial Revolution refers to the change in the manufacturing process. It refers to comprehensive, irreversible, and large-scale change that revolutionized the production process in Britain and led to the transformation of, you can use this theme too, and you can use the earlier theme too, transformation of, okay, this transformation of, okay, transformation of all the four themes which I discussed with you. Okay. Here, the first handmade tool, which were changed from machine made tool, okay, beginning of the mechanized production process, okay, agriculture economy, it was changed to industrial economy, putting out system, it was changed to, factory system. Along with factory system, the rural aspect of economy, it was changed to urban aspect of economy. And little bit, if you will define that, the term was popularized by Arnold Toynbee, okay, Arnold Toynbee, you will end up with a very good introductory part. Again, dear aspirant, I think all of you might be aware there is, change in the trend. Even in the MPSC, they have categorized the questions into 5 marker and 10 marker, right? Even if you are writing for the 5 marks or the 10 mark, 5 mark, little bit concise the introductory part. 10 marks, according to the demand of the question, you change the introductory part. I have given you a very comprehensive introduction and the background of Industrial Revolution. Now I will tell you that what were the various factors which led to the emergence of Industrial Revolution in Britain. Before that, few characteristics of this Industrial Revolution. See, when we use the expression Industrial Revolution, okay, right? This expression Industrial Revolution, one of the major characteristics of this revolution was the advent or the beginning of factory system. What does it mean? It means that it had already replaced the putting out system. Okay, putting out system was already replaced. The another major characteristics was the beginning of mass production. This mass production was unprecedented in character. Hitherto, such level of production was never witnessed in Europe. Okay. Simultaneously, other economic ideas became more dominant, and that dominant idea was the idea of laissez-faire, along with giving more importance to the idea of this, we can say demand and supply. So we can quote that the market forces became more dominant along with the idea of laissez-faire. Along with this theme, in the Industrial Revolution, you can also add, okay, machine-based production. Okay, you can also add that it was characterized by machine-based production. Another feature we can add that in Industrial Revolution, qualitative goods were emphasized, mean there was larger emphasis on quality consciousness. Along with quality consciousness, the state remained a less dominant force. What does it mean? Mean the larger pursuance of the idea of laissez-faire. All these points, okay, what I have discussed with you from first, second, third, okay, fourth, fifth, and even sixth can be written in form of the major characteristics of Industrial Revolution. Now, moving ahead to the next important theme, because our topic is why Industrial Revolution took place in first, it took place first time in Britain. See, why Britain became the first country in the world to witness such upheaval? Because Britain, if we see the political environment of Britain, already constitutional monarchy was there due to Glorious Revolution in 1688. Even the British society, it was highly dynamic in nature. More than the dynamism of British society, if you see the geographical aspect of Great Britain, okay, so here Great Britain was primarily, okay, it was a separate island. So all these themes can be categorized into different parts. How we will present this answer? See here, okay. So we can use here the term first, that is the political factor. Under political factor, we can quote the glorious revolution of Britain, particularly in the year 1688, which led to the replacement of absolute monarchy with constitutional monarchy. Okay. Then Britain had already a vast colonial empire. Okay, there was political stability in Britain, and the strategical or the geographical location of Britain, because it was a separate island nation. Hitherto, it was never destroyed by any foreign invasion. So, all these factors can be written in terms of the political factor, which became fundamental for onset or the beginning of industrial revolution in Britain. Okay. Now, moving ahead with the other factor, economic factor, right? See, so when we define the economic factor, so let me tell you that during 18th century, primarily if you have to categorize the exact timeline of the beginning of industrial revolution, it was around 1760 onward. All these major changes took place during 1760 onward. And in Britain during 1740 onward, there was large scale growth of business activities. There was large scale growth of financial institution, right? There was large scale growth of banking system. So sound banking system is there. So mean there was equal provisioning of loan and other entitlement, right? And if we see the other factor, Britain was the first country in the world which witnessed the simultaneous onset of three revolution. Three revolution mean in Britain already there was industrial revolution from 1760 onward, right? 1760 onward, okay. Along with Britain had already witnessed agriculture revolution, okay. Due to the agricultural revolution, okay, agriculture revolution, enclosure movement took place in Britain, okay. Due to this enclosure movement, if we define this enclosure movement, okay, so this defined idea of fencing, okay, fencing the land. And here, if I further define it, it was change of public owned land to private owned land. Okay, so already enclosure movement was there. Okay, agriculture revolution was there. Due to agriculture revolution, crop rotation was also followed. Fine, crop rotation. Along with crop rotation, new variety of seeds were also used. Due to these factors, there was a higher productivity. If higher productivity was there, Britain was witnessing agricultural surplus. If agriculture surplus was there, okay, so there was already a sense of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship means the risk taking behavior of the British people. Along with it, okay, Britain had, we can also quote at that time, okay, large scale availability of capital, and there was equal availability of raw material, and the Britain had the proximity of coal and other iron reserve. So all these factor, economic factor, became fundamental for onset of industrial revolution in Britain. So I was telling you that Britain, there was simultaneously three revolution. What were these? First is industrial revolution, which I have already discussed with you, mean large scale beginning of the production process and the onset of factory system, the beginning of machine based production. Secondly, agriculture revolution. Due to agriculture revolution, there was agriculture surplus in Britain. And thirdly, Britain was witnessing intellectual revolution. What was this intellectual revolution? This intellectual revolution was, we can say, a sequel to the idea of enlightenment. So in Britain, different intellectuals were there. Those who all together revolutionized the political, economic, and social environment. Who were these? I would give you the first idea about John Locke. John Locke is considered as the father of liberalism. He put forward the idea of natural rights. What were these natural rights? Okay, this was about the right to life, the right to property, and the right to liberty. So this was put forward by whom? John Locke. It means already there was open environment in Britain. Simultaneously, in the field of, if you quote other, the famous personalities associated with intellectual revolution, the second British, it was Adam Smith. Adam Smith is considered as the father of economics. Adam Smith put forward the idea of laissez-faire. Along with laissez-faire, he highlighted the efficacy of the forces of demand and supply. What does it mean? State should promote limited interference in terms of economic activity. So already mean, go with the theoretical type. Intellectual revolution was there. Due to intellectual revolution, open environment had been created in Britain. Agriculture revolution, there was agriculture surplus, okay, and these revolution further provided the background for the beginning of what? Industrial revolution. Hitherto, this question has never been asked, but there is a probability. It can be asked in UPSC too, it can be asked in MPSC too, that Britain not only witnessed industrial revolution, but simultaneously two other revolutions. Discuss critically. What does it mean? There was agriculture revolution, there was intellectual revolution, and all these revolutions provided a flip to the idea of industrial revolution. So two themes I have already discussed with you. Dear aspirant, now I will take to all of you to the third theme. Okay, third theme we will like to discuss that what were the prominent, okay, socio-cultural factor which led to the beginning of industrial revolution in Britain. Let me define. The British society during 18th century, it was a highly dynamic in nature. Okay, it was a highly dynamic in nature. This society lacked any sort of fragmentation, right? There was absence of any sort of fragmentation. There was no division, right? Moreover, in the British society, idea of Protestantism, okay, it was very dominant. Along with the idea of Protestantism, the idea of entrepreneurship was equally dominant. Okay, so we can quote here, okay, that enterprising nature of the British people during that time, society was free from any sort of conflict, okay, any sort of conflict or any sort of strife. In the meantime, in British society, already there was demographic revolution. Getting my point? Demographic revolution means already there was the growth in population. When growth in population was there, demand was there. When higher demand was there was demand for consumption too, there was demand for supply too. All these factors were equally suitable for beginning of which revolution? Industrial revolution. So all these factors you can quote in exam. Simultaneously, if we will move with the next theme, okay, along with the socio-cultural factor, right? What were the other factor? Other factor which led to the beginning of industrial revolution in Britain, these can be categorized the scientific and the technological, we can say growth or invention. Scientific and technological, okay, technological growth or invention. So in Britain during 18th century, we will witness that the certain scientific invention took place, and all these scientific invention primarily, we can say they highlighted or they influenced the textile sector. We quote about in 1764 spinning jenny. It was discovered or developed by James Hargreaves. Then there was John Kay earlier in 1733. He had invented flying shuttle. Similarly, James Watt, he had developed the idea of okay, new common, and he invented steam engine. Cartwright, okay, he invented power loom. Simultaneously, cotton gin was invented by Ali Whitney. So all these revolution primarily, or the invention primarily influenced which sector? They influenced the textile sector. Okay, textile sector. So if I will define industrial revolution, if I will sum up all the understanding, okay, whatever we have undertaken, industrial revolution, first time it took place in Britain. Which sector it influenced? Cotton and textile sector in influence. Okay, what were the factor? Political factor you can quote. Okay, that is the beginning of, we can say, the glorious revolution, the constitutional monarchy, political stability in Britain. Okay, economic factor, you can quote about the availability of raw material, you can quote about the idea of entrepreneurship, you can quote about the beginning of banking and financial institution, you can quote about the agriculture revolution which first time took place in Britain. In the meantime, you can also quote about in the socio-cultural factor, the intellectual revolution, the idea of John Locke, the idea of Adam Smith, the idea of even Jeremy Bentham, who highlighted the theme of utilitarianism, right? And in the meantime, the scientific and the technological invention which were being supported by the Royal Society of Britain, it was financing these invention. All these inventions took place. This invention led to the beginning of favorable background, and finally the industrial revolution commenced in Britain. Dear aspirant, I have discussed all the prominent theme about the beginning of industrial revolution. Okay, now before summing it up, okay, my discussion, right? If suppose if you will pen down these points, this will be sufficient. Okay, this will provide a sufficient content for 10 marks question. You can further limit it for 5 marker to, suppose in the new trend, okay, you also need to present all of your understanding in new format. New format mean when you are highlighting the idea of industrial revolution, can this industrial revolution be categorized in context of diagram? There is a myth. People think diagram cannot be used in history. Diagram can be used in economics, it can be used in geography, it can be used in other disciplines. No, this concept is wrong. Now I will tell you how diagrams facilitate good marks, or how you can sum up all of your understanding about industrial revolution through diagram. See here. What I told you, industrial revolution first time took place in Britain. Secondly, understand industrial revolution had two phases. Phase one, it was in Britain. The timeline in Britain, it was around 1760 to 1850. The sector which was influenced due to this revolution, it was cotton and textile sector. Listen to it very carefully. Okay, cotton. Let me tell you with firm conviction what diagram we are drawing right now. This is not available in any book. Neither you can get this diagram in any notes across India. This is particular for you people. Let me draw it. What I told you, phase one in Britain, sector, cotton and textile sector, timeline. Okay, timeline was around 1760 to 1850. The second phase of industrial revolution, okay, it was around 1815 to 1850. Okay, 1850, right? It was around 1852. Okay, it was around 1850 to 1914, and the sector, it was heavy industry. Let us draw it on map, and this way you can fetch good marks. What does it mean here? So if I will quote here 1760 onward up to here 1850, see here which sector was influenced. I told you it was cotton and textile sector. Okay, particularly cotton and textile sector. During the second phase, which sector was there? 1850 to 1914, it was heavy industry. Heavy industry mean iron. You can quote about coal. Okay, you can quote you quote about the other things. Now let us draw it. So how we will present in the exam? This is done. So see this way, right? If we will try to make it in this way, right? This way, right? So what does it mean? 1760 onward to 1850, Industrial Revolution was particular to which country? It was particular to Britain. Is it clear? It was, particular to Britain. Okay, we will put here Great Britain. Fine. So see, understand here. Timeline is done on, x-axis. Here you will find, cotton and textile. During the second phase, which was the sector? Heavy industry. And this was the region, right? Here, if we will draw during this period, right? Here. So what does it mean? Earlier, it was confined primarily up to Britain and few countries of other to the Europe. And during second phase, Industrial Revolution had taken continental character. Okay, it had, disseminated to most of the countries across the world. So what does it mean? It had emerged in France, it had emerged in Germany, it had emerged in Italy, little bit it had started in Russia, it had started little bit in Japan too. So this way you can present the diagram in the examination hall. It is self-evident two phase. So what is the bottom line? First phase, cotton and textile sector. Second phase, heavy industry. Timeline, during second phase, Industrial Revolution had extended across the Europe. It had assumed the continental character. During first phase, it was particular to Britain and the sector was cotton and textile. So dear aspirant, if this way you will present your answer in the final examination, right? If examiner is going to give you, right, out of 10, right? Out of 10, if with the content, if you are getting 5 to 6 marks, but if you have drawn a very good diagram to define the various aspects, definitely there will be an augmentation of half marks. So you will get 5.5 or you are going to get, okay, 6.5. I think half marks or the 1 mark is, it determines your rank, it determines your status too. Okay. So this way, dear aspirant, we continue our classes. This is the pattern. We conduct our classes here at JP Career Point. We discuss each and every topic in a very detailed way. Even, this year we have also given a sort of free mentorship to our mains qualified aspirant. Fine. And very soon we are going to launch a new batch for prelim. The same pattern will be followed in the prelim. Most of the questions in the final examination, especially in the prelim, they get reflected from our class notes. Certain time there has been, probability that sometime what type of class test we conduct. So usually I would say half of the question, usually they reflect in the final examination. So our role here to assist all of you for your better future, to give you the right content along with the right content to enlighten you the various aspects of knowledge. This is all for today. We will continue with such type of videos in the near future. Hope very soon you will be part of this institution. And here at JP Career Point, the all team under Sir Israel work enthusiastically for your better future. Finally, dear aspirant, I invite to all of you to join the September batch. This will be the last batch in 2024. If you want to streamline your studies and want to have a brighter career along with clarity about the concepts, please join it. Thank you.